Jungle music.
Well, hello there. Peace. Welcome back to the Black Philosophical Society. Hope y'all all well out there. Start getting my atmosphere right up in here. And find my lighter. Hold up. Well, I got a lighter. Not my lighter. But it'll work. Got a little bit of Palo left. Waiting for my shipment to come in. So, today, we're going to be talking about the Bible. The Bible. The Babel. Helios Biblios. Alright? Told y'all when I started this channel, we're not going to just be challenging and destroying religious arguments. I also intend to help you be a better apologist or counter apologist, right? Either way, I want all of you to be able to make more rational, coherent, what was the other word that I was looking for? Consistent, that's the word. More rational, more consistent, more coherent arguments, right? So one of the biggest mistakes a lot of us make when we come into this so-called black conscious community, right? Coming out of religion, Christianity in particular, one of the first things we hear or are taught is that the Bible is the white man's book, right? Also that Christianity is a white man's religion, right? I used to say the same thing. I think we all say it at some point. We've all been told that and we've all been led to believe that. But I think we need to stop saying that, right? Not a good argument. Not even factual, right? But I understand why we say that, right? But I think we can do better. We can pose better arguments, right? We don't need that. And I'm gonna explain why. First problem is you don't even know what you mean by that, right? Y'all run up on the Israelites. I hate to be on their side again, but it is what it is. Y'all run up on them, talking about that's the white man's book you reading out of. And then they ask you, what white man? Which white man wrote this? Y'all don't fucking know. Y'all about to say King James, right? Or some of y'all might say Shakespeare or some shit like that, right? We need to be clear on what we're saying, right? We should all know by now, King James did not write the fucking Bible, right? It's commissioned a translation. That's it. Not the author. But whatever he had to do with it. Neither is Shakespeare, right? The translator translated it from other texts. So who is the author that we are claiming is the white man? We're talking about over 60 books, right? Depending on which book you got, 70 books, 72, 66. Are you saying each book was written by a white man? No, you're not saying that because you know you couldn't possibly back that up, right? You don't know who these people are who wrote each book of the Bible. But that's just not even a claim you are prepared to stand on, because you don't even really understand what you are saying when you say that. What white man are you talking about? Right? And if you don't know, it's a good reason why you should stop saying that, right? But I'm going to take it a step further, right? Well, first, just want to say that maybe if you're talking about the New Testament, you'll have some kind of argument there when you get into the Roman Catholic Church and the Calpurnius Piso and all of that type of shit, right? Those people who had their hands in the writing of or translating of the New Testament. I'm not even sure of the race or nationality of these people, actually. But you're definitely not going to be able to make a case for the Old Testament being written by any kind of European, right? That just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know where we get this, why are we so confident about that? Like, we just walk up and boldly declare it. Oh, you read not the white man's Bible. You have no idea. You just regurgitating. You just repeating some shit. That's what we all did. We repeated some shit. And I think what we really are trying to say is that we got it from white people, right? Some people are able to articulate it a little better. White people introduced you to this book during slavery. We didn't come with Bibles from Africa, right? Now, I know there are people who will debate that, whether or not we always had the Bible in some form or the Torah and all of that. Whatever. I'm just saying that that's a part of our history. Christianity, as we know it, something that was introduced to us during slavery. So, and I mean, when I say us, I mean indigenous people too, like all the victims of colonization. So, if that's what you mean by it's a white man's book or religion, it's just not a rational thing to say. You're saying the white man used this book as a tool to perpetuate slavery or as a tool to control people. But that doesn't in any way discredit the book or invalidate the book or prove that it came from white people. Right? Because that's the claim people keep making. The white man's book. King James was a white man and a homosexual. So, off the rip, it's just not a factually sound statement. These are people who was in Africa, basically, who wrote these books, right? Africans wrote these books. This doesn't even make sense from a historical or geographical perspective. But let's put that aside. Let's just assume, I grant you that all the authors were white. They all were Greco-Romans. How does that change the truth value of what's in the book? Is it automatically false because white people wrote it? Is it automatically true if black people wrote it? Of course not, right? You have to judge it on its own merits. The authorship is irrelevant, really, if you're trying to get to the truth of the matter. Truth value doesn't change depending on the race of the author. Now, granted, yeah, I'm more skeptical of anything a European says, right? I'd be more likely to doubt it if I thought that it was written by a bunch of Europeans. But I couldn't just outright dismiss it based on that, right? That would be fallacious. That's called a genetic fallacy, right? If you dismiss anything based on who the author is, you just say, oh, that can't be true because look who wrote it. right? Or look who said it. Well, at that point, you're being fallacious, right? That's a logical fallacy, a genetic fallacy. So it just doesn't matter who wrote it. This is what I'm saying on both sides, whether you the apologist or the counter apologist. If somebody come to you and say the Bible is the white man's book, it's foolish for you to try to even argue that. Like, don't get into who wrote the Bible. Ask them why that matters. Right? See, you can't do that because you think it matters that they were black. That's why the Israelites will never just be like, well, what difference does it make? Is it true or not? No, because it's important to them that this book was written by black people, right? This makes it more valid. Because Edomites or Europeans would be liars and untrustworthy to them. They wouldn't trust it if it came from them. Either something's true or it ain't. Either it's right or it ain't. Yeah, I would urge you all, just stop talking about that. Because it doesn't make it any more valid or invalid. You don't want to be fallacious and irrational, then you have to judge the information by its own merits. But yeah, it don't matter if King James was white, gay. It don't matter if all the authors is white or gay. Like none of that would have any bearing on whether what they said is true or not. If the shit is true, then it's true. Right? If you got a problem with white people, if they happen to tell the truth, you still have to accept that it is true. You couldn't reject the truth just because of the source, right? You should not do that. Not if you claiming to be rational, right? We can reject it because it's scientifically unsound, right? You can reject it because it makes a bunch of unsubstantiated claims under different. You can have different reasons to reject it. You can have rational reasons to reject it. Not, I hope ain't nobody thinking I'm trying to tell you to accept the Bible is true. Like, I don't think the Bible is true. That I think it's false for reasons, right? For logical, rational reasons. So it's trying to make it clear that the race of the authors, that ain't a logical, rational reason. That's a reason to be skeptical, right? Fine, I can accept that. It's a reason to do some digging and some more research. Yeah. Rejecting a book because of who commissioned it, especially if you're gonna go by King James, that's like saying any black author who gets a book published by a white publisher that's a white man's book now. And we should reject it. You wouldn't say that, right? That would be silly. Be ridiculous. In the same breath, you can't say that about the Bible. Basically the same thing. King James was basically just the publisher. I don't see him having any more significant role than that, unless one of y'all can tell me what it was. It's not even any white supremacist doctrine in there. Like, we don't even have a reason to think people looked at themselves like that during that time. You wouldn't find black and white rhetoric in a book before people classified themselves as black and white. They was distinguishing themselves by tribes and nations and all of that type of shit. So I don't know if that's gonna bother somebody or help somebody out, but it's just the truth. You don't have nothing to stand on when you say the Bible is a white man's book other than something you've heard or you misunderstood. Like I said, you thinking about King James and Shakespeare and Webster or whoever translated the Bible. And I'm also not one of these people who just throw out the whole baby with the bathwater, right? I think the Bible is a useful resource as a historian, as a philosopher, right? It's interesting snapshot of the culture at that time. So I think there are things to be gained for it. It might even be a few gems in there, maybe some, some wise words that could be applied to your life today. I don't think there's anything in there that you can't get from another source. This is the problem, right? Once you start acting like it's the only book that you need, the only book that matters, the only book where you can find something that will help you better yourself. Yeah, I reject all of that. I'm a perfect example. The Bible didn't make me who I am right now. I was able to better myself without the Bible. Millions of people are able to do that. So that's where the problem comes in. Using the Bible as a scholarly tool, like all the other holy books or all the other historical writings. I think as scholars, we should do that. Shouldn't just dismiss it outright because it's got some crazy stories in it. Like, let's understand the allegory behind those stories. What is the meaning? Might be a deeper symbolism behind those things. I think that's worth exploring. So yeah, I know a lot of people just throw it out, dismiss it outright. Oh, we don't want to talk about no Bible. Like we way past that. They feel like a lot of people feel like that's like elementary school shit, remedial. Shouldn't even be discussing the Bible. But no, I don't think that's a wise approach. We should be understanding what our ancestors believed and were trying to teach us or tell us. But when you think it's just a white man's book, it's easy to do that, right? It's easy to just dismiss it and disregard it. So, hope I made that clear. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Hit the bell for notifications. Share. Like. All that good shit. And until next time, question everything. Peace.